Okay, let's see. Little YouTube, can you get started? Are we getting the stream started? We are live, I believe. Okay, let me pop up the chat in a separate window so I have you right under my eyes, and we are good to go. Hello, welcome. Today we're going to create an open source combat system, RPG style. Getting started with the prototype, doing a bit of research on the code. Most importantly, to start with, I want to make something flexible because I don't have a ton of experience writing this kind of code, so writing code for a turn-based RPG. I'm going to show you the project here. It's open source, link in the description. For now, there's nothing, but you can go check the open source ARPG that I released a few days ago. And that is still going to see some improvements, and we're going to reuse some components from there to create that turn-based RPG. Note, this project will yield 3 tutorials as well. All right, it's not just a game demo. There will be tuts, but you'll have to give me some time to do that. Hey everyone, hey Mariano, good night, good evening, rather. Thanks for joining. So, first thing I'm going to do is to pull some assets from a previous project. Note that we're going to make this with Godot 3.1 alpha. So if you ever want to test the project, you'll need to build have a really recent build of Godot. I build my own, or to download one from Kalino's automated daily builds. But for now, to start with, we do have some turn-based combat code that we made with PigDev. Turn Q, let's see. Going to, hey, no, you open that with Emacs. Why do you still have a binding to the good old VS Code? I haven't used that in a long time. Okay, seems about right. So it seems this is fine. All right. Let me think about project organization from the start. So we're going to have something like core. We're going to have, well, let's go with core assets as well. Assets/audio, assets/sprites, maybe. Let's see, I want to try a slightly different architecture from the previous project. Interface, and what else? Actors. Well, let's do core/battler. Or I'll make a combat folder for now, and core will have things like loading, game management, paths, etc. But let's see. We're going to have combat/battler, battlers, and there you go. All right. I have my base folders to work with. Now in combat, we're going to have turn Q. Well, just copy the folder, I guess. And one reason I'm going to use Godot 3.1 is to have static typing from the start. Okay, we're not going to reuse these actors. I'll use my new stats node instead. What else do we have from this demo? A bit of interface, but it's not that useful. A few sprites maybe I can reuse. Yeah. All right, so these sprites, I'm going to go to sprites, battlers, and we're going to have view like that. Going to clean the import file. And I don't want a sprite scene. What is that? Okay, so we have 2 characters that we can use for combat. We're going to have monsters as well. I want to export that blue side view monster and this one as well, maybe, so we have a flying monster to play with. What else do we have? We will get the swords. And that should be it. And I just need a small pedestal to place the characters and we are good. Hold on, the pedestal, I made it for the thumbnails. So let's use that. Where is it? Right here, I think. Yeah. All right. Let's reuse this one. I'm still using Affinity Designer for the time being as I'm reusing assets for the prototype, but the goal is also to start working with Krita again. And because now I'm hiring, we are working with Razvan. Razcore, if you are part of the Krita community, he made brushes and all, and he's going to work on tools, on the Krita designer tools that I don't have time to code myself. I wish I had more time, but I'll chip in, but he's going to be in charge of the development for the most part. So he's also going to add one or two features to Krita's layer system, like in the core Krita, funded by GD Quest, but yeah. Okay, pedestal. Or let's call this stone platform. Okay, we're just going to have this with a nicer color. Great. Well, let's have some grayish color. Should do the trick. Yeah, the monsters read well this way. And this way we can have the flying monster float above this a little better. Okay, stone platform. Let's get going. So, yeah, I should get used to snake case as well. I use web case because I've mostly done design for based around the web, not only, but you get used to using that case all the time with dashes. All right, so stone platform, porcupine. We'll reuse the coins probably later. Today we're going to work on turn-based combat in a fairly basic way. Then we'll see where we get, but I'd like to have the base combat loop with just a tiny bit of animation. Marion was asking what kind of turn-based combat is going to be. So first, the turn-based combat implementation, the goal is to have something that's just turn-based combat in general. And then this demo is going to steer towards JRPG. This is the program I'm using right now is Affinity Designer, but it's not the program I'll use to make future assets. It's what I've been using for graphic design until now because it's fast, vector-based, very good with type. So that's what I use for the YouTube thumbnails. But you can expect something different moving forward. Like, I'd like to work with Krita as much as possible. Okay, well, I'm kind of done with this one. Then I'll grab the other assets. Oh, I do want to grab the sword as well. But one of the biggest things that had been lacking with Krita while I was working on these assets was the entire export pipeline. And that's why I've made these sprites with it, just so that, I have this export tools that this file is not really well organized, but you can create slices and cleanly export, like set the boundaries of your sprites and export them really cleanly. Okay, so we're going to grab the sword and the stick. And we're going to have weapons, maybe here. So I'm the kind who tries to keep folders organized from the start, not too organized, but just splitting things in relevant categories, and later it also makes it easier to drag and drop folders and move them around. Okay, so we have the new file system. This is so good. Okay, we're going to create our base game scene first. So I'm going to use a node and create a game script. Let me think about, well, I should make so game's going to be core. I want to make the combat system first. So let's see, do we start with the combat arena or the we're going to start with the battlers. So new scene, battlers are going to be, what type do we use? Area? We don't need an area. It's really going to be a list of characters with a skin. No 2D to start with. They're not going to be sprites, they're going to be position 2D maybe. Let's see. Position 2D, yeah, we can change the node type and the root. Now there's that new option, make scene root, to take one of the child nodes and turn it into the root one. So, yeah, one thing is you want to just be careful about the base type. Never use something like you want to always use a body or some kind of container, a parent of some sort. Never use, I don't know, you never want to use a picture, a sprite, because otherwise it's harder. Like, you start to make animation, which is kind of, you can't later rig your character, you have to remake it if you start adding animation and all that stuff. That's why I start with some base containers. So let's call you battler. And position is just so that we have that little position widget in the view, which will make it easy to see where our battler is. And same thing when you want to make an animated character skin, always start with some kind of root node. I don't know if it's provided by the bones now. But you always want to start with some root node. So either call it root, or what I do often is I call it skin for the characters, and then you start placing your sprites under there in a clean hierarchy. You have to be very precise when you create animation. You have to do tests with your character sprites and all. So okay, let's go grab sprites. How did I call them blue, green, and okay, terrible names. Let's, well, got to go here to rename you. All right, so rename blue to battler. Or let's go with character. Character green. Bat, porcupine, mouth open. A very bad name as well. Let's go with just porcupine. Will be fine, stone platform, etc. Okay, so we're going to have the blue character as a sprite. All right, and reset your transform. Well, the main character is going to be green, and then we can add some hat or some object that will give the character a class. Hold on, this is new for me. Wow, this looks so good. Okay, under the skin, obviously, and then we want to add the shadow. Did I make the shadow gray? Okay, so on the x-axis, I want to center you, and I want you to be behind the character. Okay, all right. Seems I made the shadow gray. And then media, I love the ARPG demo. Ah, big dev, just use sprite then. Yeah, no. Sorry. But yeah, that's why if you're going to make animation, you don't want to do that, right? But I mean, when I got started with Godot, I just did that. Like, I started with sprite or something, and it's cool, but it's not super flexible. Okay, so the base battler scene is going to be this one. What do we want for the battler? I want them to hold a class, okay? All the skills for the characters will come from their class or job node, something like that. And I have to think about that because it's got to be flexible. So say you want a knight, a mage, or something like that. The design requirements can change in your game. So if you use pure inheritance and you're like, you made that character, don't know, you name the character. I name all the main character for all my games Dan. It's a very simple name to start the project. So say you have a character named Dan and you're like, oh, it's going to be a knight. So you inherit from battler, you create that Dan scene, and it's the knight directly. And then you're like, oh, I want to change, actually it should be more of a rogue or something, so the knight doesn't fit anymore so well. So you had a battler, knight, and Dan that inherited from it, and changing inheritance later on can be a pain. While if Dan is just a battler that has a node that gives it all his skills, it's a lot better. It's a lot more flexible. So let's create a new node. We're going to call it job. Job node or class node. Yeah, I don't like class, so let's just call it job. And job we're going to save somewhere in the battler combat, battlers, and battler's job. Now I'll have to think about all the things. One thing I was wondering is about commands in the game. Like, would this be... I want to make this first demo simple and fairly accessible to everyone, and then make something, moving forward, make something a little more advanced where on the characters you could have a list of commands and skills that they have. And at the same time, because it's for tutorials, I like these things to be visual. So one way to do this would be like skills, like so, and or you know, like commands or competence, skills, actions, for example, on the battler. And then you create a reusable node for each action. So attack, and every battler in the game can use attack, but how can I say it? We talked about this with PigDev, who worked on this project way before, some time ago. And there's a programming pattern you can use called command, where you use a base interface for all the actions. And then, for example, the UI system can, because role, job, class. Yeah, role is a good name as well. But job is clear. It's the name they used in Final Fantasy back in the day. I think it'll be clear for most people. Let's try this. Yeah, so actions. You can use the command pattern to create a base interface for that. So let's try to make a script for this. So combat. Let's create a script called combat action, like that. And so this is a base action, and you can have something like do or execute makes sense. Execute the action, and you're going to do something. So in the case of attack, you're going to grab the battler and say like battler dot attack, or battler dot change, I don't know, battler dot attack or something. And the advantage of having that is you can do things like, if you have a system where you can queue the actions on your characters, you can have variables like actor, the one that does the action, and you're going to store it, and you can store these actions in a list, and then you can have an undo function that's going to undo the action when you want to, that you've queued up. you can also have things like some data where the name of the action is going to be, well, you're going to use the node name, but description, you know, you can have some description of the action of each action, and because they all have the same interface, the UI system can just, when it's the battler's turn, it goes to the actions node and it looks at the actions and just lists them in the menu using what you have here, whatever data you have here. Marino says, I have a half-working turn-based battle using commands, kind of cool. Can you share, do you have the source code online? Like, just for your base command implementation? I'd be curious to see that. All right, on the battler, one of the next things I'm going to add the stats node really early on. So stats here. I had a stat. What did I put in status? Come on, let me set Emacs back by default. Open with Emacs and always use. Okay. Yeah, I had made some base statuses like that. Okay, we're going to add that. It's going to come in handy. We're going to have, as part of combat, battlers stats. And we have stats.gd status. How about status as a name for the folder? I don't know. Okay, hitbox we don't need unless we were to add some stuff like have to handle collisions, but we're going to start with basic JRPG style, so you select the character on the screen. Weapons we don't need. What else do we need? We're going to bring in some interface elements, but in a few moments. What do we have here? Inventory we will need, but a bit later. It's a little too early now. Marion says it's one of the projects I wanted to keep private. Okay, no problem. PigDev says, cool thing about commands is that commands kind of consider functions as objects. So you can pass them and store them and create replays. Yeah, actually that's exactly what they are. They are functions stored as objects, or functionality encapsulated in objects. It's a very common pattern, and meaning that you can store actions as data. That's one of the points. But it's not a very clear pattern. There's not like one template implementation you can use. And there are cases and ways you would use it, for example, in C or C++. I don't know if you would use it in C. It's more about object-oriented programming. But in Godot, you have the function reference, and you have a few built-in things you can use that are going to save you time, where you don't have to create a comment pattern. So you can use funcref to store a link to a function that you can call anytime. Let's see that. I think you call funcref, you pick the instance of, you pick an instance, an object you're going to call a function on, and then the function name that allows you to call that function, and you can store that in the resulting object in a variable. So this is creating a command for you. Let's say if you do var my function, and you can store, for example, the attack method on the owner, and then you can do, well, let's call this attack function, and or attack, and then you can do attack.call on the resulting object. Is that correct? Hold on. Funcref is a class. It's call func, like that, because call is already used on the objects. at the same time, so you can change the function and the instance you are working with, but at the same time you can also do this call and call a function by name. So you can get the owner and call a function using a string, meaning that attack function, you could do like that. You can say, I want to have this as a string, I want to store the name of the function, and let's call it attack, and then you can do a few interesting things with that. Expected the end of the statement. What's the matter? Ah, forgot the var keyword. String, okay, so attack, and then you can do these things. So you can say if the owner has the method attack function, then you can call it using duck type. This allows you to use duck typing to check that you implement the right interface when you work with Godot. Furry Code is asking, you can use instance to dict and dict to instance to save objects. Is that a question? So instance to dict self. Let me check. We'll do it not in execute, but okay. So this is going to be a base interface, and func ready. Let's print instance to dict. Okay, and try this. Ah, sorry. If I don't print self, it's not going to work. Okay, so let's just see what it prints, because okay, it gives you the path to the script. No, I don't think it's enough. Returns the past instance converted to a dictionary, useful for serializing. Okay. And it gives you some info, but I'm not sure. Like, I guess it will store all the modified properties, maybe. Let's see on the battler here what this would give us. Yeah, for now it just gives me the path to the script. You may want, I'm not sure, you can probably use it to get essential information about the node, but you will probably need some, maybe you need to feed some extra data in there and handle it by hand in this case. So extend that dictionary with extra data. But yeah, it's probably a big helper because at least it gives you the path to the script this node uses. But there are things like, at least in the last implementation I've made, I was using file name, for example. And file name gives you a path to the file that contains this node, so the tscn file, and not just the GD script. Okay, by the way, let's add some class names now that we can. Oh, that is so good. I love this. I love this. Easy inheritance. Okay, so we have our battler. And let's have our command. So class name, combat command, or combat action. Ah, this is so good. This is so good. So this is going to be combat action. So this way, now I can straight away create. So I can remove the script, create a new script called attack. I'm going to save the branch in the actions folder. So it should be in combat battlers. What did I save my script? Call? No. Okay, so combat battlers actions. Well, I don't even need. Let's see if the battlers. I guess that monsters will be battlers as well. I guess everything will be a battler, just so that the UI can find them. But let's say we're going to have an actions folder and call this one attack.tscn, and then I can add an attack.jd script, and I can do extends combat. Hey, I don't get to completion for that. There we go. And now attack is a combat action, and this works. And so attack has an execute method that it can override. Although, let me see. Yeah, you can see auto completion for execute. Great. Let's just do this. We're going to have attack. Defend is a useless one in games. Yeah, okay, let's just have the characters attack in the first version of the game. What next? Our battler doesn't do much for now. We're going to add some stats. So it's going to have... is the job going to have stats? Or no, it makes sense to have the stats on the character. Okay, I have to fix the dependency. And now let's work on stats.gd. So stats has both the stats of the character, strength and all, and the health at the same time. Now I'm not sure how I'm going to manage all that. I think the stats should be... like, this has to be data that you store on the disk, like in JSON or in a CSV table, and that you load in the stats node. So it's accessible on the character, on the battler, which are going to be two separate classes. Like there's the character on the map, there's going to be the character in combat, which is kind of different, but the data is the same. If you open the menu, you want to print the character's health, characteristics and all. Okay, so this should work for the most part. The only few things I want to add is static typing. Now, okay, health change, damage taken. So instead of, well, I like the damage taken thing, but you can have health changed by amount instead. So health changed, the amount but by which it changed, and damage taken, new health. Yeah, I think we can just work with... I think I had health change work like that before, and it didn't... For some reason it didn't work at some point, but I don't remember why, or when, or where. Well, let's try that. Okay. Add modifier, remove modifiers for the stats. And okay, we have health at least on the character, so in the stats node. But do I separate the stats and the health just so that we can easily... How do I do that? Do I want to separate the stats node where you have strength, defense, blah blah blah, and the health? Health is a stat. Yeah, let's keep it this way. That seems a little redundant, having the export type hint and the colon type later. Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe you don't need them. I'm copying that code from Godot 3. Now it's Godot 3.1. Let's see. It works. Okay, so you don't need the export hint anymore. hold on. Parse error. Do I have to? No, I do have to. I do have to set the export type hint for now. Because it's not the same thing. Here you are, sure, the editor could infer from here what is the export type. But in the export type hint, you not only put that you want an integer, you may input a range as well. So, like so, you can put 2 values and automatically reloads, and it will cap between 0 and 10. I need to remove the parents. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it works. Okay. Nice, thanks. Hey Marino, thanks. Yeah, please link to my Facebook. But so you want to keep this? Yeah, thanks. SS2 Sire. It works much better this way. But Marino, I'll check your scripts after the stream if you want to keep the project private, right? Alright, we have the health, we have the stats, so we're going to have strength, defense to start with, and we're fine. Alright. Yeah, the health. So we're going to give you a class name, character stats, something like that. All right, what else? Stats, the job. The job will work on a bit later. Alright, I said I wanted to get the combat working, so just need an attack action, helps so the characters can take damage, attack enemies, and I think this is fine for now. The only thing is, well, to set the character statistics, I've got to go down to the stats node, but I guess that's fine. Can do that on inherited classes. And anyway, moving forward with an RPG, as you're going to add monsters and all, you want some data-driven workflow, either a spreadsheet or a custom editor to set the values on your characters. Just like, hold on, I have an RPG Maker here. Let's see, I have to launch from Discord, I guess. I can launch it from here, right? Alright, so in the library, RPG Maker. Just so we can look at the little editor that they have. Hey. Not cool, Steam, not cool. Okay, so we have an editor that's simple, but that's nice at the same time. See, they have these things. Let's see how they do it. So they have the actors that, because that's a good source of reference actually. So they have the characters that's going to store the assets, the info about the character, and looking at the data. When you look at data like that, you can assume that it replicates, like it works similarly in the code. So you have jobs or classes, and this is going to give you the experience curve acceleration A and B. Extra value. This is the amount. So you have a base cost per level, like that. You have 2 accelerations. I wonder exactly how the curve works, but actually it's nice. I'll have to look into that. The experience curve. Okay, so you're going to have traits on the character, skills to learn. So at different levels, they're going to learn different skills. All right, makes sense. And they have curves for the growth of each parameter. And you really generate the data manually. Okay, so the stats are on the class and not on the character itself. So there's the actor that's going to have, yeah, it has an inventory. The character can have traits as well. So stats boost and skills, things like these. None of them has, but they can. Okay, they have some starting equipment. The inventory is shared between the characters, I think, in this game. And that's what we'll have as well. So we'll have a base inventory that has all the objects. They have a class. So that's our job node. For the levels, we can hard code the limit. Okay. And then the class is going to have all the skills. What is add skill type? Special. Add a skill. Seal a skill. And all of these, because RPG Maker is an editor, they probably use the command pattern everywhere. Like every little event you can add, or each of these commands is probably encapsulated in, well, it's JavaScript, so it's probably in a function. And functions can be stored as variables and then serialized, so saved. Easy RPG. Interpreter for RPG Maker, but 2000, 2003, so pretty old. That's nice. Okay, I'll check that. I'll check that eventually. But RPG Maker MV is also open source now, by the way. So you do have access to the full code. It was half of a joke. Okay, I can't get it if you tell it like that by text. Okay, so let's save the battler, go back to the game, and we're going to have some. I'm going to make a combat scene. It's going to be a 2D scene. So let's call you Combat Arena. Well, combat, whatever. And we're just going to place some sprites. So, okay, so battlers. How do we do that? For my turn management system, I want to have one way we did things with Harry K. So we have a node called turn queue that's going to take its children. Yeah, dependency, gotta fix. All right, we're all good. have a turn queue node to manage turns in combat. So let's go class name turn. Well, we don't need that. We don't need to register this one. Okay. Actors node. Queue active actor is going to be battler, and let's install you as active battler. So it's going to check a node, and everything that's under it has to be a list of battlers. And it's just going to pick them one after the other. Okay, battler. All right, let me see the code, because I don't remember if that's the final one I wanted to work with. Okay, so we get the node that's going to store the battlers. We initialize the queue. It calls set queue actors node dot get children. Clears the array. Hold on, let me think. So we are storing the battlers in an array. It's going to work, but I would rather just use the nodes in the tree. I think I told that to PigDev back at the time. Get next in queue. Yeah, because you're popping the array, then you are repopulating it. You really don't need to do that. You can use... The goal was to use the tree, so let's use the tree. Alright, so the way I was seeing it at first was to have the battlers under here, so let's grab a few of them. Alright, so you would have the battlers and the monsters all in a list that would give you the turn order. Now this has one little issue, it's about ordering the nodes in the list. Can be a bit of a pain when you do get children. I think in the node API you just have... So you have move child. Okay, let's look at the node API. How can we do that? The idea is that you could use the node tree to order the nodes. And so you just point to the node that's active, it's going to attack. Whether it's a monster or a player, doesn't matter. It's going, and when the turn is done, the animations and all, it just goes to the next in the queue and loops back to the start. Now the only problem is ordering the nodes in the tree based on a stat. And do we have some kind of sort function there? I think if you do get children, it returns an array. An array has a sort method. So I could sort or sort custom. So I get each node in the array and I use a function to order them. If you sort the get children array, PigDev says the final one is in the JRPG demo. Is it like on the JRPG demo on the good demo projects? Sorry, go to engine, demo projects. Let's see. I have it on my hard drive, truth be told, but role-playing game, turn combat, turn Q, turn Q.gd. You still have an array in here. And let's see our good old projects. Good course code probably, it's in here. And turn based JRPG, turn Q. It's okay, I think it's the one I used though. Yeah, same thing. Okay, so no difference here. However, the line count seems to be a bit different between what we have here in turn Q.gd, 51 line, and the one you have there is, no, it's the same. No, it's the same, roughly. All right, so let's change that. We're going to refactor that. But Marin was saying you don't need to sort the tree, you can just sort the array. But the point is to have the nodes in the tree change order so that you can see it visually in the remote tree. Remember that I make tutorials, so if you can have visual feedback when debugging, it's valuable for the needs of videos. All right, so you can sort the children array, but then you've got to either move the nodes or remove them all and re-add them all in the right order, which is fine. It's really no big deal. But okay, so we're going to remove that. We're going to remove clearing the queue. We are not doing anything with that. So for nodes, append node, node.active equals false. Yeah, I don't want code like that. Active battler uses a setter. Set get set active battler. New actor, you set it to active. Okay, I'm going to change that. So, because the thing is, once you start to do that, remove function, no need. Get next in queue, that's what you need. Initialize, no need. Well, you can do that initialize, you can sort the nodes, but you remove most of the code actually. You rely, there's a node tree that handles the list of nodes, so really don't want to bother. Set a function I don't want. Initialize the queue doesn't exist anymore. Okay. And queue.pop front, and yeah, we've got to change get next in queue. So active battler dot get index. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to set you to battler to start with. Yeah. Marino says also take into account changing the order on the tree. Sort the array, then on for battler in array.reverse, battler.raise. You have a raise function on the node. Changing the order in the tree will affect the render order, which could cause undesired effects if you don't take this in account. True. True, so there should be... Okay, so two ways to do that. One is to have battlers that only hold the data and the skin as a separate object in a separate part of the tree. but that would be a pain as well. So if we have to update the render order, that's a pain, really. That's true. Yeah, you can use a Y sort as a parent of the battlers, so... Okay, let's do that for now. So we'll change turn queue into a Y sort node. Oh, hold on, I've got to do this on the base node, so... We'll do this for now and extend Y sort. Capital S, and thanks for helping me out, by the way. All right. So this way I don't want a remote reference to the actors node. I want the code to be as simple as possible. All right. So let's do this. Get next in queue. We start with the battler's index. We're going to have a new index. It's going to be an integer, and get child new index. Okay, so active battler, we get the index, we add one, and we use a modulo get child count. And there you go. In 2 lines, you can get the next in queue, and it will cycle around the queue. Marino says, don't overthink it, just have it in mind if something weird happens and you don't know why. Now I think it's quite the contrary. You want to not overthink it, but think about it thoroughly, because then if I make a tutorial and I put these things out and people start working with them, I don't want to teach them bad things. Sure, I understand that anyway, in general, you want to separate data and rendering, but... But with the Y sort node, it won't be an issue, and as you have only a few battlers in the game, it's really not much. But yeah, I guess I could store these in an array, so... Okay, let's do that. You're right. It's just use an array, because outside of Godot, this may also be a better practice to do this. Okay, so we're going to have index plus 1, or we can have battlers dot find active battler plus 1 modulo array dot size, so battlers dot size, as it's an array. There you go, and I'm still going to use Y sort here, just for the sake of in the combat, just so that you automatically get these changes. Yeah, but even then I want the characters to be on pedestals and all. Do I need all that Y sort shit? Wonder. Big Dev saying just backsitting. If the idea is to see the remote tree, wouldn't you just always set getChild0 as active? Yeah, if you use raise, yeah. Otherwise, you can have a pointer that advances through the array and through the battlers. Okay, I'm going to try things this way to start with the battlers array. And active battler is going to be every time we advance in the array. So new index. Okay. Can just battlers.pop front until battlers is empty. And then you rebuild the array. Yeah, but I can also do it this way. That doesn't change anything. So you would just not have active battler, but just go with battler 0 every time. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Active battler, turn finished. You're not going to yield on the battler, you'll yield on the interface. I guess a play turn is a loop here. Active battlers again equals battlers.pop front. Pop front returns the element. Okay, it returns a variant. Yeah, but the thing is, then I have to repopulate the array every time with that getNextInQueue here. It's cycling automatically. Even if I change the order, whatever happens, it's fine. On the next turn, it will get always the next thing in the array, even if you resort the array. And even if you remove, so func remove, well, when a node gets removed, you want to rebuild the array, right? Let's think about that for a second. So when you queue a node free, you rebuild the array from scratch anyway, do you? See, that's another reason why I want to use the tree. Battlers.size. Well, if there are no battlers, you start the phase. I mean, one of the points here is always, if you can avoid having extra mutating arrays, like you keep a copy of the scene tree in the variable. I like to avoid that if I can, so I can just remove the variable entirely, right? Let's see. I'm gonna try with the scene tree. I want to see if it works, and then if it doesn't, too bad. Just go with that. Okay, so getChild new index. Because really, when you rely on the scene tree, you can get very concise code, and when performances are not an issue, it's really nice. Okay, so play the turn, blah 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 blah. Get the next in queue. Yeah, that's fine. And so we're going to have some signal. New turn turn started. And it's going to emit the battler. Well, so instead of get next in queue, I'm just going to have one function here. Turn started, emit the active battler. All right. All right, so we can do things like this. When we start to play the turn, we emit the signal. The turn is started. See, this is, I have turn management in 12 lines of code, for example, here. And using the tree instead of maintaining the array. So then the sorting code will add a few lines, but can get something very concise, right? For now, the characters don't have speed. They'll just, you have an order in the tree, and there we go. That's the order turn will play. Hold on, it's turn Q. I want to save you, and I want to save my combat scene in combat. All right, and there's probably going to be a combat.gd script, but I'll do the trick for now. Hold on, my coffee is cold. Gonna get, and I need to go to the bathroom. So let's add a label. Bathroom. Hold on, now the inspector's here. Well, coffee time. Ah, this is cool. This multi-line editor here. Coffee time, and it's time to bring our theme also in the game. By the way, for the ARPG, I should really open an issue. I'd like if people could give a hand with the interface. Art colon UI colon design a much a good menu theme. It'd be the UI theme was fine for prototype with great panels. Don't look too good. Too good. Anyone want to help design better textures and style boxes? I rely on Godot's theme resource. Rely on Godot's theme resource. Well, let's just do that. Label, help wanted, and there we go. All right, be right back. I'm just going to cut the mic and leave you with the music for a few moments. By the way, it's by my friend Tainan. I hope I put the link in the description. Well. Sorry, the mic was off. Okay, so I've moved stats into the job, and I was wondering what to put in there, because same thing, I think I want to use nodes as much as we can, so like have skills, and then have, what will the job have? Oh, you can export them as, in Godot 3.1 you can export everything here, right. So if I do export array of skills, as a variable, and if I do it, now I can do it like that, right? It can go colon array, and gives me an empty array. Okay. I can add like 8 elements and be like, okay. Can choose the type, not a custom type. But I think arrays are shared between, well, we're not going to use inheritance here. So you could use an array of strings. Hold on, do we have a string? No. Pull arrays, byte, int, pull string array. This work. Can directly edit the strings here. So yeah, one way you could have you want a database of skills in your game, and then the job is just going to reference those skills. So one way to do it is like that. To have a list of skill names, for example, fire, thunderbolt. You could have something like that. So you make on the mage job, it will start with fire and thunderbolt, and that's one way to do it. Another way is to use nodes instead of pure data, but I think that would be the problem with nodes. I've done this for the inventory system, and like editing the items one by one in the editor is a bit of a pain. What about the skill being a custom class? It has blah blah blah, its own properties. Yeah, sure, but it's you will have a resource, but this would be the identifier only. Now the thing is, if you have all your skills as nodes, you can just drag and drop them inside there. I'm not sure about what will scale and what will not. So I think I've got to prototype the game. I'm going to use resources and nodes like usual, and we'll see from there. Yeah, that's the thing. It's, again, I've been using nodes myself for the needs of tutorials because it's visual. That's it. So a skills node, so you have a list of skills, you have a list of, do we want traits in this game? Not sure it's necessary. So traits would be starting or general stats modifiers that are natural to the character. It could have, yeah, okay. It will have stats and skills, and I'm going to just do that for now. So skill is going to be a list. Yeah, I'm just going to get the combat working for now, and we'll see that later. So we want monsters, so we have battlers here. We're going to create a monster class. I don't know if a monster is necessary at all. Can I just And same thing on the battler right now, the skin. I have this as a base, but actually I should really change this. So skin is going to be the root node for the animation. I should really maybe add a whatever, a node 2D, and this is going to be, or again, position 2D. And this is going to be my green character, and we're going to save this because you don't want the battler to start with a fixed sprite or something and then you override it in the children. You want it to have a skin instead. Have a good night. Pig dev. In Godot 3.1 you can have scriptable objects. I think you pointed it out in the previous video. Scriptable objects? I'm not sure. Is the feature called something else maybe? Okay, so assets, combat, animation. Green character. Let's name you Dan. Everyone's Dan. Rename this as Dan. Save. Rename as Dan. Yeah, I'm not going to hold the stream for too long still. How long has it been? 1 hour and something. Just because it's noon and it's the time I start to lose focus a little bit, so I'm gonna go eat something. Hardbeast made a video about scriptable objects. Yeah, but there's not such a feature as scriptable objects. It's just what he made a node and he put some properties on it. That's probably... Okay, let's go check that out. Can I search? Hey, you can search the object string, so... Ah, yeah. I briefly checked the video, but it's nothing special. He's just making a node that has some properties. And that's it. So that's what I'm doing for the inventory system in the course and in the ARPG demo already. Yeah, sure, you can do things like these. So I'm going to post the link in the description. Yeah, he just extends resource while been extending node in the past, just so that you could put it in the tree. But here this is. Yeah, sure. That's one way to create data, but again, it's nice that you can edit these in the inspector. Now, designers often use spreadsheets for a reason. It's very quick to have. You want a database of objects that you can edit and check formulas like data values in relationship to one another and quickly sort the table by this or that value to check for references. So that's why a lot of people use CSV. So then if you use these resources, in a big game like an RPG, when you have, say, over 50 items, you soon want to move that to a spreadsheet. So again, you can sort the spreadsheet, you can change values in relationship to one another and all. Well, if you create a new resource, it's always, you can edit one in the inspector, but well, I guess you could create some tools in Godot to sort them in the tree or represent them in a Docker and create that kind of database editor and register them automatically in a database. So you would just have to create some tools, custom tools. Okay, what next? What next? We have the turn queue, we loop of the battlers. we want to have some playable battlers and some monsters. How do you make the distinction? Now the point of using resources, by the way, or references, it's that unlike nodes, if you create copies in the game, the resource is only loaded once in memory, and you just access, like when you duplicate objects that share a resource, are just going to point to the same resource. While my item system for now in the inventory is going to duplicate the nodes. Marino says, I always end up making resources and editor for that resource, but to be honest, lose lots of time for that. So in 3.1, let's see, let's create a new, okay, so we're going to create a new resource like that. We're going to create, what did we want to create already? An object? Nah, let's go with it. Yeah, as you can see, this is the time I start to really lose focus. Okay, so next problem to solve, it's in my combat. Okay, so first the combat scene, I want to rename it to Combat Arena, just so it's easier to search for. Combat Arena. Okay, so I want my monsters along with my battlers. And how do we do that? Can create a monster scene that inherits from battler. Yeah, I guess it's fine. Okay, let's try this. Okay, so battlers, battler, and we're going to call you monster or enemy. And all enemies will be, yeah, just that. Do we make an inherited class for it? Not sure. Inheritance versus composition. Is there a good way to compose? Well, we can check that with the job of the monster. Do you use inheritance or? Yeah, just assign characters to a party. Good. Yeah, actually I didn't think about that, but one very simple way to do this is to put the battlers in groups. So if now we have a battler called, okay, so I'm going to make a new inherited scene from battler. This one's going to be Dan. And so in battlers we're going to have okay, so this is combat. So we're going to have Dan. Dan is good. Yeah. Okay, Dan's skin. And rename you to Dan skin. Don't want two scenes to have the same name. So in Dan, we're going to add Dan's skin in there. Save. And then we can do this. Where is the note tab? It's right there. Groups. And there's a finally. I didn't know it was in Godot 3.1. Finally. This is really good. Okay, so we're going to have party. And it's going to be a global list. This way we have access to it in the menus, because the thing I was wondering is, yeah, when you have the characters in the game, like right now I have a battler class because I'm starting with the combat, but if you make a larger RPG, outside of the combat you still want your characters and your party to be around, and actually you're going to build the battlers, you're going to link them to character data from the game, and the character data stays around. So right now I'm going to do this on the battlers, but later it will need refactoring. Okay. So, all right. Can I manage groups party? Add. Does it work? Nodes not in the group. And we can add Dan to the group. Okay. Wow, that is cool. Finally. Aniki says, if you're robust enough, you can have an arbitrary number of parties on screen, only one of which the player has control of, have allies you don't control, but that do not attack you. Yeah, gonna keep things simple for this demo though. So, although I like to solve these problems because you learn a lot doing that. Then again, it's for tutorials, and I want to get this project out pretty soon. Okay, so combat arena, we're going to have a few pre-made battlers. So we have then skin, duplicate, it's going to be a porcupine skin. I like to keep the name too. Well, I guess instead this one's going to be Dan, and the other would be, okay, let's search for it. So Dan are going to be Dan Battler, Dan Skin, and this is going to be Dan Anim, maybe. We're going to have a porcupine similarly, so now you can create resources from here as well. That's pretty cool. Okay, so duplicate, and you're going to be blue anim, so we're going to have the blue character as well. Playable. This character, this is going to be character blue instead. Let's grab the name, change it, and we're going to change the sprite in the inspector. Alright, blue anim, and we're going to duplicate you again in porcupine anim. So this way you have scenes where you just work on the animation. And so this one is going to have the porcupine sprite. Later you'll want to, I'll make a base rig, right? But I can control to get the scale handles now. Do they work? Now they seem to be broken. Are these scale handles? I'm not sure. Okay. Anyway. Alright, and I'll change the shadow sprite later, but I'm going to be the porcupine. Okay, save that. Did I save it as... Ah, come on. Messed up with the scenes. So... Okay. You're going to be porcupine anim. I'm going to overwrite you. We're going to grab blue and save it as Dan, and instead we're going to use character green, this character, by the way, you could try out the mesh and skeleton 2D to deform these rectangles later when you animate them. Yeah, the idea is to do some of that But mostly mesh deformation, I'm not sure, but definitely rigging as IK and all is back. Alright, so Dan's Battler. Now we're going to do a duplicate of that. So down, we're going to have Blue Battler. Blue Battler is going to have the blue skin. Call them Anim, so Blue Anim. That is still named Dan Skin, so it's going to be Blue Anim. Dan Anim. Porcupine Anim. Alright. So blue, Dan Anim. Like so. We're going to have, so we have the Blue Battler and we're going to have the Porcupine Battler. And that's going to use the porcupine skin. Okay, and I think the Blue Battler still is named Dan. We're going to name it Blue. Alright, and my combat arena, I'm going to look for my battlers. Can I take all three of you and load you there? Yeah, so the point of naming the characters and the scenes, giving them unique names, but also having an identifier in the scene, so you don't have to go through the folders. Instead, you can just search the files, and you search for Battler, you will find them quickly and you can drag and drop them. What's going on, says Clash Royale. Well, we're about to take you off of the top charts on the App Store, making a super cheap RPG. I don't know, nothing too fancy is going on at the moment. We're just making a simple RPG demo. Starting with the base for the prototype. It's okay, the characters have some basic stuff. Hold on, I'm going to make some animation on the characters and I'm going to make reusable animation if possible. So we're going to go to Dan's Anim, add an Anim player, and get started creating some new animation called, first I think I still need that setup thing. But hold on, because it's going to, yeah, if I key the position, for example, it keys on character green. So if I don't have a name like body, that's, okay, I'm going to go to my anim scenes and rename bodies body. Hold on. Just so that I can reuse the anim for now. Although we will animate the base node. Hold on, this animation player, we're going to add a track on the parent. It does store it on a Dan anim group, but let's see. Let's see if it's going to work or not. Alright. Alright, so I'm going to animate Dan's position. I want to remove the rotation track. And what we're going to do is have the character go and go back for the attack animation. Okay, so attack, and we're going to animate the position. So actually we can try the new capture keys. Capture. Okay, so this one's going to be in capture mode. So it's going to go from whatever you had before, like a tween. And so it's going to go forward like that. Let's see. Yeah, but no. I want you this one's at 0. This one's going to be forward. Oh, I can feel the lag here. Is the capture mode broken? Well, I guess we should not use it anyway, so let's see. Continuous animation. There we go. Hold and go back to the beginning. We're going to duplicate the first key. Okay, so now let's pimp up that animation. Add some nicer transitions on it. Where do we have the transition editor now? And in duration, it's in the inspector, right? Everything's in the inspector, yeah, makes sense. Okay, so then we want 2 keys here. I want you to overshoot a little bit. No, right there. So overshoot here. Go back. Not overshoot that much. Hey. Okay, in W mode you can't nudge with the arrow keys. Probably a bug. Okay. And then we're going to ease you out, I guess. Yeah. I really want to use the Bezier curves, by the way. Let's see new Bezier curve track, and then anim's position. I'm going to stop right here to mute this one and go to the Bezier curve editor, but it didn't have snapping the last time I tried it, so it was a bit of a pain to use. Yeah. And yeah, you had that. You can't move the handles in mirror. You have times where the handles get lost, and you can't snap to the x-axis. The animation doesn't update instantly when you move the curves. So it's nice to have, but they don't snap to it doesn't snap to the frame steps just yet, as you can see as well. And the handles are always way too big. Do you have a way to change the handles automatically? 3 handles balanced. Now the mode is only okay. So I can use, at least I can use mirrored mirrored mode. Yeah, but it's going to be very complicated to use at the moment, I'm afraid. Okay. Yeah, you really need a better editor for that. For the Bezier curve, so I'm going to stick to basic animation now. Close the Bezier curve editor, and we're going to trash the 2 of you. I hope you can at least like import animated data from Blender at some point. You are animating the scene's root position. Is this on purpose? Yeah, sure. I'm not sure if you can inherit animations when you use scene inheritance. Yeah, as Mariano explained, animations are resources, so you can save them on the disk. Where's the option? Yeah. Change the place. Where is it? Root node. Okay, save branch as scene. I can save the animation player node. Because that is to clear current animation. Is there no way to save the animation resource itself? Animation blending. Edit resource clipboards. I can't find a save option anymore. Interesting. Do I have to create now, because there's no resource slot in the animation player node. There's an animation button next to the animation name, and you can save as. Okay, that was there. So then you can have dananim.animation. There we go. And instead of naming it dananim, actually, we're going to name it just battler.anim. Okay, so this saves the animation to the disk. That's cool. But only saves. Okay, so it doesn't save the full list of animations. It saves individual animations, which you can then load in an animation player node. So this would be attack left.anim. Then so I can do load attack left, and this gives me an attack left animation. Okay, I see. Right, we're going to do this. Well, we're just going to call it attack. Keep it right there. So remove this one. Save attack on the disk as attack.anim. Then we're going to have, so we have attack. What else? So now it's always going to attack to the left, right? It's not a big deal. Need to add a small animation after that. We're going to use the animation for the turns. So when the attack animation finishes, goes back, we go to the next turn. That's one signal we can listen to say when the skill is finished or something like that. Take damage, sure. Almost forgot about it. So new, well, take damage is a good name. And for take damage, we're just gonna animate the modulate property. So let's go dananim, meaning in the setup, we've got to go animate the modulate. And we're gonna go back to take damage, modulate. And so we're going to go with 0.05 again and add a few keys in there. Hold on, I have to go control of that. I don't have a working mouse wheel anymore, so it's a bit of a pain. Well, we're going to use the manual mode. All right, so let's go something red. Well, full red, insert, no, full red, you don't have auto key yet, right? We're going to duplicate the two of you. Duplicate. use a lighter color on this one. I can't see the results. Okay. There we go. Okay, 0.85. Yeah, the new preview for some of the animation tracks are really, really pleasant. So you get gradients for anything that has to do with color. You get for audio tracks, when you place them, you can see the waveform and sequence audio. What else? Add the sprite. When you animate a sprite, now you can see it as well. So let's change the texture over time. And if we go like to character blue normally and create a key, it's not. Are they? How come that there was a preview on that before? Okay, that's probably a bug or deactivated temporarily, but normally you can see the sprites here as well. Like, this is the latest master. Next should be dev. I think the preview is for the frame. It's for the frame. Like, if you use an animated sprite, maybe. I thought worked for sprites. That's surprising. Okay, anyway, that's fine. Okay, so next one, we're going to duplicate the animation and call it death. Death to the characters. Death animation, and death animation is going to be the same, but we're gonna go to an alpha of 0. And there we go. And we're also going to add maybe a bit of scale animation. So scale on, we want to animate here. Okay, scale, go back to depth animation, and we're going to animate the scale on this character. So here we're going to insert a key. We're going to have the character scale up. Not in absolute synchronization with the I can change the scale here, but okay, I don't get the widget to scale the character. Now I have this one. Okay, it works. Perfect. So we're going to scale the character, make it thinner, try to squash it a little bit. Okay, scale, and then squash you down, like so. Well, this is a little hard to see. Let's do something along those lines, it should be fine. Okay, fade out much faster. Right, and you want this one to be much wider here. Essentially scale down to 0. I'll change the transition, I guess. Okay. That's the job. Should rise up like a ghost. now that you say that, yeah, let's see that later. Make the turn combat work, and then improvements to animations, like having the little ghost from the old Final Fantasy games, for example. Much welcome, but don't hesitate to open an issue on the project. All right, I'm going to save these animations. Def anim, and we're going to have take damage. All right. Okay, it's soon going to be 1 p.m. here. I'm gonna go make lunch and stop the stream for now. Oh, come on. I pressed your recording key. I don't want to record that as a video. All right, so what do we have? We have a turn queue that's going to point to one of the battlers, one after the other. The combat arena doesn't have much more than that. We have some base battlers with health management, and we have some animation on one of the characters for now. So, please excuse me. I'm going to leave it here because that's the time. I just need a little break. I'm going to eat and then get back to work. But this is open source from the start, and it's going to become tutorials pretty soon. And hey Ben, Ben is here, Hal Beast. Actually, I'm just about to close the stream. But yeah, so this little RPG demo, I'm going to make a few tutorials from that, and once it works, obviously, and it's going to turn it into a small JRPG. I'm not coming back live afterwards. I'm going to focus on work because I've got some other things to do. So I'm doing split work on this demo and the Godot course and other tasks I have to do every day. So if you have any questions before I close the stream, please go ahead. Yeah, you're welcome, Josh. It's a pleasure. I just need to get more projects out. I hope that at some point the community will grow a little faster, because working with open source programs, the only issue is everything is slow. So, like, GDQuest is fine now, but because there are not so many users compared to larger programs, like I was looking at some channels that started around the same time as I did, or that do far fewer videos and all. The amount of views, for example, and the number of people who search for these tutorials is so different. You make tutorials, if I focused on Photoshop, for example, from the start, I would probably have 5 times to 10 times the subscribers, compared to having covered Krita. With that, the people say there's the competition, but no, it's not so true. You can just get so much more. Like, I made videos at the very start that got more views, like views faster than when I make videos now with 60,000 subscribers soon. And these programs are more saturated, you would say, but YouTube works a lot with recommendations. The majority of the traffic comes from that, and so if you cover programs that are less popular, you just get far less visibility. Unity, I was looking at Brackeys, for example, and the growth curve. You can see on GDQuest it's very slow to accelerate, and for them it's much faster. I was looking at Mike from Game From Scratch. When he makes news about Unity or Blender 2.8, instantly the video gets a lot of views. And when you make a tutorial for Godot, and himself as well, like the difference in volume between these videos, the number of people who watch it is just so huge. Sometimes it's often it's an order of magnitude, 5 times more, you know, and it compounds as well. So and Godot is growing. That's definitely true. Now, the thing with that is, because it's open source, you know, companies like the company behind Unity, I don't know if it's called Unity, but the companies behind large proprietary tools have, like, they can sponsor content creators. They have a lot of money, they do a lot of marketing that helps the user base to grow faster. But yeah, Godot is on a good trajectory. Krita is as well. And definitely eventually some big company will start using it. Companies that can use the work from the community, but also probably have engineers in-house to customize the engine. And some sizable companies use Godot already. They may not say it, or they may not share their work on it, but one does. That's Gamblify, and that's a pretty big company in terms of revenue. And I think Godot will, I'll be saying Godot will reach Blender's levels one day, I think. And I think it will get there pretty quickly because of how fast it's growing and how many core contributors there are, and that the code base is accessible. Blender is still C, for example. And it took 25 years to get where it is now, but Godot will take less time than that. Well, 20 years being open source, but it started in the 90s, so it's quite different. And yeah, definitely Godot will be linked to, like, the integration with Blender is going to be pretty cool. But already at the last GDC, Juan explained that, strangely enough, the indies were not too interested in Godot, because when you have limited resources, you don't want to change tool and engines if you already know one. But the larger companies, I think that was not necessarily AAA studios, but large teams in between were interested in Godot because probably it's lighter than something like Unreal Engine. You don't need to hire very specialized engineers to extend the engine. You can just have even even somebody like me who doesn't have much experience with, who doesn't have experience with C++. I can read the source codes, and in little time I could contribute and write modules. What Godot needs is some company that would offer support. Like, well, there's already Gilles, one of the core contributors, who companies can hire to develop features, and a few other developers, I think. But he made the new file system for Gamblify. So this, the new UX was all developed by Gilles, and it's a paid job. Yeah, indies that are getting started right now, and Blender has had the exact same thing. Companies like Autodesk had a lot of salespeople, and that go to companies and try to convince them to use their products. But Blender, like younger studios getting just started, where they still had to train people and all, started to pick up Blender, and a few film companies started to work with it, and people within companies or like it's been used in the VFX side of things, because it can do things that other programs are not as good at. The Blender developers invested in 3D printing tools to validate the meshes and all early on, and this helped Blender get some footing in these kinds of jobs. So yeah, definitely. And perhaps someone will create the Unity to Godot exports. That would be that would be crazy, just crazy. And yeah, as Josh says, these companies, Adobe as well, you have educational plans. They try to get people to study their tools as early as possible as well, so that people get used to the tool and, you know. Anyway, time to close. Thank you very much for having been around for these 2 hours. See you soon. I'll try to keep streaming, move forward a little bit, have something more interesting to show next time, and pick up from there, okay? I'm going to commit what I did right now, and yeah, see you in the next tutorial. So have a good day, bye-bye, and let's close the stream.